Geometrix is an action for Photoshop that allows you to create intricate geometric patterns using some simple features and filters right inside of Photoshop. No AI required. So the first thing you'll want to do is download the geometrix.zip file and unzip that to a folder. I've opened it up here on the desktop. And inside of there is a file called geometrix.atn. That's the action file that we'll be using. And then we'll open up Photoshop. And we'll open up the Actions panel. And if you don't know how to access that, you go to Window, Actions, and it may either pop up in a sidebar or it'll pop up as a separate panel here. And then I'm just going to drag the action from the File Explorer and drop it right into the Actions panel. Now you should see that's created a folder called Custom, and inside of that there's an action called Geometrix. And if you spin this open, you can see all of the steps used to create this specific action. So if we select Geometrix and hit the play button, after a few moments you should see this image. And this is the default image that was used when I created this action. So it plays through all the steps and generates this image here, which is great. But you'll probably want to create your own artwork. So what we'll do is close this, go back to the Actions panel, and this time I want to click this empty space right here next to the Geometrix action. If you hover over it, it'll say Toggle Dialog On and Off. So we'll click that. Photoshop will throw up a warning that says this will toggle the state of all dialogues in this action. Say OK. And what this will do is actually play the action again. However, this time it will actually pause at each stage in the action and allow us to make changes to each of the items in the list. So this time when we select Geometrix and hit the play button, the very first thing that happens is that Photoshop creates a new document, and in this instance it's set to 2K by 2K. So we'll leave it at that for now and say OK. Creates a new document, and then it wants to create a new layer called Gradient Fill 1. We'll say OK to that, and it starts you off with a gradient, but you'll probably want to make a new gradient or choose one of the gradients that's stored on your system. I think I will choose a different gradient. I'll go into the oranges, choose this gradient, and I think I'll make some changes to this gradient. So we'll move the stops around, create a new stop at one end, make that white, another stop at the other end, make that black. Oops. Make that black like that. Say OK. You can adjust this to your liking. For now, I think I'm happy with that. Say OK. I'll leave these other settings as they are for now. Say OK. It's going to create another new layer, and now it's going to open up the Wave Filter dialog box. And the Wave Filter is what is going to be used to draw the lines in the geometric pattern. So you'll probably want to experiment with this a little bit. Experiment with the wavelength and amplitude settings. I think what I'll do is set it to something like this for now. And say OK. It's going to draw some lines over top of the gradient that we already have. Say OK to that. It's going to open up the polar coordinates filter, which which is going to take the lines and make them into a radial pattern that you can see here in the preview. We'll say OK to that to accept that change. It's going to open up the twirl filter and create a twirl, and we can adjust the angle of the twirl here. I think I'll set it to something like this. Say OK, and then it generates the pattern and opens up this layer inside of the Camera Raw workspace. And inside of the Camera Raw workspace, we can change things like the exposure, the contrast, highlights, shadows, white level, black level. We can go into the colors, we can change the vibrance and saturation. Go into the color mixer, adjust the reds, oranges, yellows. Just basically tweak it to what we like, and when we're happy with that, we can say OK. And then we have our intricate geometric pattern created with some simple filters right inside of Photoshop. So now you can take this action and tweak these settings to create your own interesting patterns, and I hope you have fun with that.